Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. I know this is hard, but it's also a bit special to have this conversation. And we've gotten to know one another a bit over the past couple of months. I grew up in a family of social services. So my father ran homeless services for the Salvation Army. And so I was around a lot of homeless people, around a lot of people who were struggling with drugs and alcohol, mental illness. And he'd always say, people are people. And when you're meeting them at just a moment in their journey. And they could have been something completely different in the past, and they're going to be something different in the future. And you're only seeing them in that one moment. And that moment might be their most vulnerable moment, their lowest moment. And so I know you've been through quite a journey, and your family has. And I was wondering if we can start at this moment right now.
Yes.
How are you feeling? Why are you here? Why did you decide to come here today?
Well, it's multifaceted. The most obvious, we lost our son August 24th of 2022 to a fentanyl overdose. And to see what was taking place in his life prior to his demise and being thrown into the matrix of how you recovery, if you want to recover, what are the resources available, things of this nature here. It was difficult to not want to share that journey because those who have those that are suffering from addiction, that are so close to you, and you're intimately involved with the ups and downs, if you don't use your experience to share that, to let others know that you're not alone in this. This is happening a lot, way more than it should be. So when you gave me the opportunity to speak, I lunged. I will take that. That's why I'm here.
What's your son's name?
Janelle, Jannel, Powell, Powell.
Where'd that name come from?
Well, Liz and I, my betrothed, my first job out of the IU Medical School, that's part of this bond that we have here, medicine-based. My first job was the northern tip of Maine. And yeah, it was the farthest I could get away from southern Indiana. So we took it, and it was a strong French community, and because of and that was a common male name. So when when she conceived while we were there, I kicked around the names, and that's where it came from.
Got it.
Yeah, French. Yeah.
That's great. And so you came back from Maine, obviously.
Yes.
Was he born here in southern Indiana?
Yes, he was. And Lissa, it was, we had to do the Trans-Canadian Highway and the move back, and she was due as we were coming back from northern Maine via Canada to southern Indiana. And I don't think we were home more or living here more than a week when he was born. So, yeah, that was.
So he's a Hoosier.
He's a Hoosier. He is indeed. Yeah.
And what was it like when he came into this world?
Well, it was pretty exciting. I think we already had one son, and I think a lot of mothers, if they can get one of each, would be a good thing. But he was very well received and very loved, a beautiful child, a beautiful young man. Yeah.
Tell me a good memory of him.
Well, there are quite a few. I think he was very academically inclined. He was one of those, and I'm confident you've met these people. I don't think you're one of them, but you've met him. He was one of these that never brought a book home, and out of a class of 150 or 175 or something, he was like in the top 20 or whatever. Just very bright, inquisitive, loved music, deeply involved with Indiana University athletics. This is where I graduated from. That's part of that, going to the plays that he would participate in. He was a leader in the marching band, and I had shared with you that they had gone to state 4 years in a row. whereas prior to that, the school, they didn't even know they had a marching band. And that was a big deal. But my personal favorite, being an athlete of sorts, was his wrestling accomplishments. And he won conference many times, he won sectionals many times. And I think I briefly showed you a picture earlier of that winning pose of decimation, you know.
He's just feeling strong.
Oh, feeling strong, yeah.
Healthy.
Yeah. Those are good memories.
When did you know that he was an addict?
The signs were quick because he was a highly driven person. Could be very argumentative. You know, I really pressed him to go into law. He would have been a great attorney. And when he experienced a few highs with alcohol and that sort of thing, and got into a little bit of trouble, nothing real legal, but other parents were concerned, I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to have to watch this.
Right.
Yep. And as he got into his latter years in high school, that sped up a little bit, the partying a little bit, but again, not going to jail at that time or, you know, fighting or any of that kind of stuff, but you know, where are you? I will come and get you, that kind of thing. Right. So I think it was noticeable to me as a healthcare provider, there may be potential for that. Because in Lissa's family and my family, alcoholism is rampant. Okay. All right, so you're kind of sensitive to that. Right. Once he left high school, he went into the Marines. He didn't want to go to college right away. And they medically discharged him because he had injured his knee, and they didn't want to repair it. You know, they said, look, it's just best to let you go. You know, you're a broken asset. I think that's the terms that the Marines used. And so when he came back from that, then decided to go back to school, hanging with some of his friends that I thought were very questionable, then that's when the word was out in the street that he was getting involved with meth, and but nothing along the line of opioids yet. It was still pretty much drinking, but meth on top of that.
Got it.
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Terrible, awful. You know, I wasn't the best example as a parent. I think a lot of parents look back on their lives and wish they could have done some things better. I certainly could have. But seeing someone that close to you struggling that way, you feel helpless. And what I didn't want to do, I said, well, if you just listen to me, you know, and go to AA, do things of this nature here to drive that person's life, you know, well, you have to kind of sit back and let things develop a little bit. Well, they developed all right, but they hit overdrive. You know, they did. So.
Did you have any resources around you to help with this, or dealt with it yourself and with your wife?
Yes. Where it is that we live, there's a Life Springs community there. There are different recovery. There's Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was a small local, but it was strongly supported. Yeah. And so at those times, like if you want to keep using our vehicles, if you want to live with us while you're looking or something, these are the things you need to be looking at. This is going to be a requirement, right, you know, to do that. And you would go down those trails a little bit, and then it would fall off pretty quick. So the years go by, he gets out of, he goes back to Indiana University at Bloomington, and there was a very scary time where he was hospitalized. And my understanding is that when I got a hold of the hospital, I said, I'm his father, can we do this? They were doing scans and all that sort of thing of his head. And I think it was a very close call that he had, but it was alcohol based at that time. Yeah. And so then he got a job in Indianapolis and got clean. It was wonderful. Met a young lady who drank and he didn't, but you know, that went back into that old, very common, let's see, what do you call that? He returned to his old ways, we'll do it that way. and then he consistently had pain in his shoulder from a glenoid labral tear. And when he had it repaired, that's like somebody flipped the switch. Like, nothing feels this good. Nothing helps like this. And so
You're saying he was given oxycodone?
it was something. I'm not sure what it was, Dr. Peck. I don't know. Whatever it was a life changer.
What year is this?
I knew you was going to ask me that. I'm thinking it was probably 2000. Let's see, Brett was born in 2006. Maybe somewhere between 2006 and 8, maybe somewhere around there. I don't know. Yeah. And then after that, then he started seeking drugs, opioids of sorts. And
was that the first time he had taken opioids, do you think?
yes, I think, yes. Yeah. He kept that pretty close. And was functional. I mean, was able to function, had a good paying job at it was called Pizza Blend at the time. I don't know what it is now. And he was the manager of out on the floor and did quite well.
Yeah.
So it was high functioning.
So let's talk about that moment when he was given opioids for the first time, when he was given pills. A lot of doctors give those medications, and right now we have these programs that monitor those prescriptions, both from the doctor's side, but also from the pharmacist side giving those medications. And that's one of the interventions we know is very effective to keep the amount of pills down on the street and in people's hands. That's supported by state and federal money. In fact, it's part of a bill called the Support Act. And that Support Act was voted on again to be reauthorized in December. And my opponent voted against that act. She was one of 37 people to do so. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel terrible. It makes me feel that that you want something. It's selfish. That it's a self-serving thing. You're to serve the people who elected you to a specific office to do specific things, it's why we voted for you. You're going to bring things of great value to us, and there's nothing more intimate. Since we're both in medicine, there's nothing more intimate than health, because if you don't have that as a foundation in your life, you're not going to have much of a life. And to think that someone from my locale, who has been voted into office, to not take that tact and to look at it when the other 400 some people, bipartisan, absolutely voted for that and wanted it to come. It really struck me as what is that person thinking? What is our representative doing up there when we need this like yesterday?
I'll tell you what she's doing. She went down to the border right after that and said, has pointed to the border being a problem for drugs and fentanyl coming over the border. It's certainly an issue that we're trying to tackle. You've seen in Congress right now that be bungled, where Democrats and Republicans were trying to work together in a bipartisan way, but the Republicans pulled out, and we no longer have sight lines onto how we're going to control the border crisis. Part of that is drugs. Part of it is drugs that are made here too, including by our pharmaceutical companies. Those pills that your son got did not come in from over the border. They came from American pharmaceutical companies that, as a representative of the United States government, it is our job to regulate that. It's our job to make sure our businesses are being ethical and that we can give ethical ways of treating our patients. So what would I do about this? It's a multifaceted problem. And that means it's a hard problem to solve, which means we need to do a lot of work. There's a lot of legislation that needs to be supported that's already been passed. because it will need to be refunded again. So someone needs to vote to refund it, and we know that my opponent will not. And we need other programs to boost up the response that we've already had to opioids, drug addiction, mental health access. That includes being able to reach patients where they are. That's where telemedicine comes into place. It's a huge place for us to be able to reach our patients. We know that mental health resources are scarce, especially in our rural areas. And we also know that we have evidence-proven ways to treat people. So let's enable telemedicine. We know that education to our students, to our parents, of what resources are available to them is an enormous part. Part of what I heard from your story is that you were going through this, you were watching your son, you were making decisions on your own of saying, I think this is the right decision. And maybe there are places you can go for more information, but it wasn't coming to you. That's our responsibility as government, is to not only make the resources, but tell you about them, educate them to you, put them in your hands, make them effective. We'd also work with healthcare professionals. We need prescription monitoring programs for our doctors and our pharmacists in which we trust them to make the right decisions, but give them the guidelines so that they can make the right decisions. Right now, some of those programs are a little overbearing and stops those physicians from giving drugs to the people they need. And so we need smarter programs. We can't arrest people for having a medical problem. And we can't treat people who have medical problems in jail. That's expensive, it's ineffective, and therefore wasteful. And you know that my whole platform is to be a centrist, a moderate. That means looking for places where we can cut waste, where we can cut fraud, where we can cut abuse, where government money is being spent where it doesn't need to be, so that we can fund things in a more innovative, smart way that actually helps the people that need it. Arresting people in order to treat them for their problems is a perfect example of what we can't do anymore and what we can fix very easily if we had the will to do it. And then there's our politicians. We need politicians who care. We need politicians who care about you, and after your son died, continues to care about you. Continues to be there for you as you mourn, but also empowers you to continue to say, I've learned all of these life lessons. How do I give them to other people in the community? And politicians who say, let me reach out to you, enable you, learn from you, partner with you to be able to make programs, peer-to-peer programs that help the next generation of people who need help.
One of the things that is very bothersome for me, being part of the district that Aaron Houchin represents, is when I found out that our representative, who many in the community voted for, did not support the Support Act, actually voted against it, voted to not let its passage. It was very shocking to a number of people, those in the circles that I run in. And I had some discussions with them at the hospital locally, but at the DIM party meetings too, about what would a person be thinking to hurt themselves if you're serving these people. Why would you vote against something like that that is so powerful? So for the greater good for the community you're supposed to be representing. We couldn't understand that.
The funding in the Support Act directly funds the response we have to opioids and other drug addictions and mental health access in southern Indiana. There's money in there that is used to fund our federally qualified health centers, like LifeSpring, like what your son used, and what so many people are using to get their lives back together. You yourself said it helped your son get clean at that time.
Yeah, at the time, it wasn't a LifeSpring. There was it was the facility in Kentucky, just across the river here, that was his last. He had been through, I think, maybe 3 or 4 programs, in total, starting back without the alcohol that I'd referenced earlier, all the way up through the most recent. And so that was the last program that he came out of, and it was powerful. We had our son for 2.5 years.
Some say the program isn't enough to save everyone's life, but it saves people's lives. And so we need to continue to fund it, but we need to continue to improve upon it. And we need the right people in Congress who understand this problem to do so. Why might you have hope that I can do the job?
As I've grown to know you, Dr. Peck, over these past couple of months or so, I'm so grateful to Adam Schneider, our party chair in Harrison County, introducing us to each other and getting to meet you that first day and having lunch and stuff, and getting what it is for me. All of the roles that I think a leader needs to have to be an effective leader, you have that. You have the advantage of being Harvard graduate in medical school. That's a big deal. That opens up your eyes, and to know that your experience in your prior years through your own family and seeing those who are suffering from addiction, who are suffering from being unhoused, food insecurity, and all that directly tied to addictions. Knowing that you have that in your repertoire, so to speak, makes you a powerful voice. And I think also your business experiences also demonstrate that you know how not just to have the ideology, but how to get that pushed out. Those are the kinds of roles I see you filling 100%. I do not see that whatsoever in our opponent, in Aaron Houchin. Those qualities are not there, and that's been recently demonstrated. You feel all of that.
I heard a politician say about Austin, where there was one of the largest AIDS outbreaks in the history of the United States, right here in Indiana 9, that there wouldn't have been an outbreak if we just didn't test for those patients. That incensed me. That politicians would literally try to ignore a problem in order to get votes that next time by saying there is no problem. And I feel like that's what's happening right now. Is that this is an enormous problem that our country has come together to try to fight, to try to tackle, to try to help people, to try to be with people at these vulnerable moments. But we have other politicians who are saying, let's ignore it. Let's ignore the problem. If we just don't look at it, it won't be there. But it is. You're evidence that it's there. Your son is evidence that it's there. I meet people literally every day after I give a speech on the campaign trail who come up to me and tell me about their first-degree relative who has died from fentanyl, who has died from drug overdose. This is not a problem that affects just some of us. This is a problem that affects most of us directly and all of us in terms of the money that's being spent on this patient population, the effort and the attention that we need to give it, rather than putting our attention toward things that can help others as well. It takes resources. And if we don't tackle it now, the problem will only get bigger, and we'll have to put even more resources to it. And that is fiscally irresponsible. And again, my whole platform is do the fiscally responsible thing so that we can help the people who need the help. You said you were frustrated with the amount of money being spent.
I did, yes. I did just a bit of a dive, Dr. Peck, before coming up here, uh, different resources to see if there was data directly tied to the projections of how much money is spent irresponsibly by not being preventative in nature, by not getting in front of the problem instead of just reacting to the problem. And my personal feeling is that the reacting to the problem, there is that caveat of there being a financial gain to some of these places of incarceration. And I will give to you after our interview some information maybe to look at. The collateral damage that comes from being reactive and instead of preemptive on how to approach this stuff results in opportunists to actually take advantage of the problem instead of trying to fix it. And that's what incenses me beyond anything, is that you would use that vulnerable population at their most vulnerable time for a financial gain. And it's obvious to me. So being ahead of that, would negate that to a degree.
Yeah. So not addressing the problem allows people to use vulnerable populations to be fraudulent. Mm-hmm. Not addressing the problem allows businesses, public officials, jails, mm-hmm. to invest in themselves rather than the people mm-hmm. who they're supposed to be helping. Mm-hmm. And that's angering. Mm-hmm. That's personal. It's personal to me, it's personal to all of us who are represented by someone who won't stand up and do what needs to be done to help the people like yourself, mm-hmm. like your son, because no one else is coming. It's the government's job to do. It's been voted on, and if you vote against it, you're voting against saving lives. And I feel the same way about even the budget. If you vote against the budget, that is completely fiscally irresponsible because people's lives depend on that money. This is not about people being furloughed, which is horrible for families. Mm-hmm. This is not about national parks not being open. Mm-hmm. This is about people living and dying. And so Erin voting against the budget twice, and I'm sure she'll do it again, is something that's personal to all of us. I know this might be hard. I know this will be hard. Can you tell me about the day that your son died?
Yes, I can. Before that day, it was evident. We've been raising his children since September 1st of 2015. And because of the difficulties in he and his former wife's relationship, there were difficulties with alcohol and drug abuse, both parents. And we got a call from the Department of Children's Services in Indiana saying, you need to intervene. Your name was given to us. And of course, we immediately went to Indianapolis and got our kids, grandchildren. And we've been raising them. We still have them, and they've made me a better person. I'm a better man. And there was work, methadone, and things of this nature here through a clinic in Indianapolis. There's pluses and minuses to that kind of treatment, I think. But there wasn't the drug-seeking behavior so much as long as that was being taken. But then the marriage dissolved, and then things started spiraling out. So when that happened, we asked our son to move back to Southern Indiana with us, and stayed with us for a while and was able to get employment. was able to work for a bit, but there was a noticeable shift when the methadone wasn't involved so much and he wasn't drinking anymore. Then that drug-seeking behaviors, you could see it happen when he would visit. He would leave early. His weight loss, runny nose, difficulty with digestion, etc. You know all those things as a doctor. And I'm going, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And it went through a successful program in Louisville. And we had our son for 2.5 years, and was actively involved in Narcotics Anonymous. And I got to go listen to, he was a guest speaker at a meeting once, and I got to go and participate, and it was wonderful to see, and it was gratifying. But when there was the relationship he was in at the time wasn't going well, there was an injury at work that caused him a lot of pain. It was a serious hand injury. Then you could see, again, I don't want to hurt this way, a doctor's prescription. It was very small, but it was something. And off and running. I mean, it was day and night. So, and then he would only come over on weekends, meet the kids, we would eat, and then he would leave. And then on August 25th at 3 a.m. in the morning, our doorbell is ringing, and Melissa goes and answers, comes back to the bedroom, and said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "Janelle's dead." I went, "What?" And so, boom, you're out of the bed, you go down, and it's the officers from the next county over. At the place he was residing at the time, the person he was living with came home and found him deceased. So we had discussions prior to that time, Dr. Peck, about where this goes. There's only two ways out of this.
Right.
You live and a better life with program and help, or you die. And he goes, "I know that, and I'm the only one that can fix it." He owned it. And so what I remember most about that morning, my beloved, with the officer standing there, she went and picked up his picture, and she was holding it against her chest. And she says, "There is no hope if there is no life." I'll never forget that. So how you process that, that's another discussion, I guess. But knowing that you had the good there when there was intervention, and you sought intervention, and you embraced it, and then when you stepped away from it, when you felt like things weren't satisfactory in your life, that's where we missed that opportunity. This is what you are doing. This is what you will do in Congress. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.